Good morning, President and Mrs. Obama, Director Lonnie Bunch, and all our distinguished guests and all Americans who've joined us for this very important occasion. It's especially fitting that we're dedicating this plot of land on our National Mall for a museum that remembers, reveres, and celebrates the great struggles and even greater contributions that African Americans have made to our nation's history. Just down the road from here, both the White House and the Capitol were built in part by the labor of African American slaves. We don't know most of their names, but they left a lasting legacy in the bricks and stone and beautiful craftsmanship that now house our democracy's most vital institutions. Here, too, in this city, is where a young congressman named Abraham Lincoln was horrified by the sight of slave pens standing near the grounds of the Capitol, and where later President Lincoln would sign the transforming Emancipation Proclamation. Here in this city is where the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass came to offer counsel to Lincoln, and it was welcomed by the President into the White House. Here on this very mall is where the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. stood and shared his dream of the nation where we're all measured by the content of our character and where we join together at one table, the table of brotherhood. And here in this city is also where President Lyndon Johnson fought for and signed the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. Today, African Americans help lead our nation in all facets of life, from government to the military to the law, from business to the arts to medicine and education. This museum will share these stories and will pay tribute to the many lives, known and unknown, that have so immeasurably enriched our nation. The National Museum of African American History and Culture began as a bipartisan effort through legislation sponsored by Representatives John Lewis and J.C. Watts and Senators Sam Brownback and Max Cleland. My husband, President Bush, was proud to sign it into law in 2003 and to envision the museum to be built on the mall, where we honor artists, inventors, explorers, soldiers, and statesmen. I'm particularly proud of the museum's vision, which is dedicated not simply to this building, but also to reaching out to communities around the nation. The museum has already begun traveling expeditions and artifact preservation programs. It's a museum dedicated to welcoming all Americans, whether or not they'll be able to travel to Washington, D.C. I'm glad, too, that this building will stand next to the monument to our first president, George Washington, a man who fought for liberty and who came to recognize the evils of bondage, freeing his slaves in his will. Side by side, these two spots are symbolic of our own national journey. For the stories that will be preserved within these walls, the stories of suffering and perseverance, of daring, of imagination, and of triumph, are the stories of African Americans. But they're also stories that are forever woven through the heart of the fabric of our nation. Thank you all, and God bless you all.